Welcome to Entrepreneurs Are Leaders podcast with Harry Sardinas. Interviews with world's most influential entrepreneurs that share tips about how to grow your business exponentially. Charismatic speaking, leadership, branding, marketing strategies designed to help you monetize your knowledge, find true happiness, and manifest your goals and dreams.
Hi, hello everyone, and welcome to Entrepreneurs Are Leaders podcast. And today we have a wonderful story to share with you. A math teacher that decided to turn around her life and become an entrepreneur. So, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Dr. Geillan Aly, and I am the founder and CEO of Compassionate Math.
Wow, so what that means, compassionate math?
Compassionate Math, I do professional development consulting in math education, and I do workshops with students to help them overcome math traumas. I help faculty and teachers make their teaching more engaging, more student-centered. I help modernize what's happening in the classroom, and I try to help bring a new picture and a new face to what it means to learn mathematics.
So, why you decide to become an entrepreneur? I think that before you used to be a math teacher, right?
I
And
was a math professor. I was a
professor.
university professor.
Yeah, why? So,
Yeah.
what led you to actually take that decision to rather than that go and find have this job to start your own business as a woman
Well,
entrepreneur?
yeah. Well, during the pandemic, I had a little bit of a crisis of faith at my university,
Wow.
and I felt like what I was doing wasn't the right path for me. I think there were a lot of people who had feelings about what they were experiencing and what they were living through during that time. And so I took some time off to just be home and contemplate what I wanted to do. And if what I wanted to do, I was a step away from tenure, so receiving a permanent position from at my university.
Wow.
And I took some time off and I said, is this what I want to do? Is this what I want to be? Is this where I want to be?
And in
And
the
so I took some
university, they pay very well over there.
well,
What led
it's
you to
not as well as you might think.
you were heading to a very stable situation in your life, and then you
Yes.
decide to become an entrepreneur, which is a risky thing to do.
Unbelievably risky. So yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't a good salary that I left behind, but it really was stability.
Yeah.
And um and I was just thinking about it. It was perfect. I had moved across the country to take this job. I bought a house. I had just had a child, so he
Wow.
was 1, 2 at the time. And just there were a lot of reasons that I just needed to pause and reflect. And
Mm.
so I spent some time seeing what I wanted to do. And funny enough, a colleague of mine said to me, you should, if you want to kind of keep your head in the game, you should go help some teachers right now. It was just after the pandemic when not after the pandemic, but when students were going back to school. So it was the first term in the fall of 2021 that students were going back to school. They were, wearing masks and social distancing, and teachers were really burnt out and having a hard time. And I was like, I don't know.
To come back, right? To the
Yeah,
class.
yeah.
It was
And
dangerous also, right?
it
Was dangerous,
it
was, yeah.
was, yeah, yeah. And I wasn't I knew that teachers needed help. I knew that teachers were burning out. I knew that they
They have
just
mental
needed
health
support.
issues and things like that, right?
Exactly. A university faculty, we had the same challenges, but on our side, we have a little bit more privilege in terms of and control in terms of what happens in our classes and how many classes we're teaching, et cetera. And I knew teachers were suffering. So I did it. I mean, I didn't really have plans to do anything else with myself. So she was wonderful. She arranged for me to go, and I went into a classroom and I came home Funny enough, my husband happened to have taken off that day just how every now and then you take
Yeah.
off and you're just home. So it was a coincidence. He's home and I came home and he said, "So how was it?" And I said, "I think I've actually found my life's calling."
Wow. So you love it,
I
helping
was
all those teachers, right?
It was amazing. It was amazing. I felt like all of I like problem solving. I'm a problem solver.
Well, a
And I felt
mathematician, right?
and a mathematician. Yeah, exactly, as a mathematician. And I just felt like I found a home in being able to let teachers and let faculty express their honest and true frustrations and be
Mhm.
able to problem solve with them and work with them and help them kind of transform their teaching, transform their perspective, transform where they are and what they're doing. And it's I've been making a huge impact. I must say, I'm excited
100%.
to
I
say.
I get your feeling 100% because we do work a lot. We train a lot of teachers in Latin America,
Hmm.
in terms of accelerating learning, right?
Hmm.
From universities to different institutions.
Right.
And I know what you mean. When you have a room full of teachers, because at the end, teaching is my parents are teachers, both of them, right away.
Hmm.
So it's a very honorable profession. I always
Yeah.
said that with knowledge, those ones that don't have can have, right?
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
but those people that they are teaching out there, they're also human beings and they need support and they have challenges and they need training and they need new
Yes.
techniques as well. We had them a lot in terms of accelerated learning, how to keep the we showed them techniques how to keep the whole students engaged all the
Hmm.
time using kinesthetic, visual, uh, different way of learning to make sure that the student don't switch off. I'm actually a visual learner, right? And
A what? I'm
I
sorry.
didn't I'm a visual learner, so
Oh
I
yeah.
my
Yeah.
way of learning is visual. So
Right.
for me, for example, in math, right, my results were not good. Sometimes, right, most of the time they were not good. But then
Hmm.
one day in the university, they came and they came with one topic. They call it geometric on the space, right?
Oh
And
yeah. Hmm.
and and I was on top of the class in that one, right? It was no university when I was a teenager, and the rest of the people are failing, and
Mhm.
nobody understood what's going on. They were saying, how come Harry's getting this one the top and we are all failing, which is usually the other way around, that Harry's always at the bottom and we always at the top. What's going on with that topic? And what happened
Right,
is that was the only one that was more visual, right? So I
right.
could visualize the space geometric very easy, right? Because it's my
Mhm,
way of learning. Where the
mhm,
other ones rest on I was in a high performance school in Cuba when I studied, right?
mhm.
And more of my colleagues that were analytic, and the way of teaching is always like we always said auditory, right? So the teacher speak and everybody listen. So if
Oh,
somebody learn better way of learning is the listening way,
right,
of course
right.
you are more likely to have highest mark because you are absorbing the content faster. But someone like
Mhm,
me that is visual, when you talk to me
mhm.
too much, too much, too much, I start to look for
Right.
I get the very easy
Like
disconnect. That's why my
distracted.
background,
Yeah,
my screens,
yeah.
you can see a lot of visual things all the time,
Right.
right? Because this is how I operate. And
Mm,
so because I'm I'm a victim of that, right? We talk a lot about accelerated learning techniques, so how they can how do we can engage all the students, right? Not
mhm.
only the auditory, but also the visual, the kinesthetics, and everything. And at the end of the day, the whole class can have better performance. So I do understand when you
Yeah.
share it with me that when you make a big benefit to the teachers, right? You can see in this because they do want to deliver the best for the student, but it's extremely challenging if you don't have the right training and the right support, correct?
Or if it's just you know, sometimes we're all creatures of nature.
Mm-hmm.
And even as teachers, you don't, you have the same lessons, you're teaching the same things over. Sometimes you just need to change things up. I mean, right now we really need to change things.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest things that I was thinking about during the pandemic was when everybody went to remote learning. I mean, I wasn't a big supporter of going online and using software to learn. I did it. I
We
was
all
a
did
victim of the system. We all did it.
it.
But I was thinking to myself, this is an opportunity to completely radically transform education.
Mm-hmm.
And but I wasn't in where I was for my own mental health and for my own struggles personally. I wasn't in a space to make those differences and to make those changes, but I kept spending time while we were all at home thinking there's so many great ways that we can
Improve.
re-embrace education and improve education and make students interested in what they're learning and make students be motivated. And I mean, there's a reason that, and not to denigrate anybody in the field of speaking or online courses or anything, but there's a reason that university enrollment is going down and people are going online to, I don't know, pay like $25,000 to some mastermind for
Mm.
somebody who has a couple of years experience doing something to learn from them or something. And again, not denigrating the world
Mm-hmm.
that I'm also a part of right now, but
Yeah.
but at the same time, there's a reason people are shying away from education and going out into the world and trying to find other ways to learn. And I think it's because that outside of the university system, outside of traditional educational systems, that there's some real advantages to
Yeah, they are
want to
teaching
learn
them
and want to
different ways.
engage.
We're doing all over the world. We're doing it
Yeah.
all over the world. We do conference in large scale, and we use these techniques, right?
Yeah.
Because this is the thing, right? This is the problem that we find out.
Hmm.
The education system is system, right, that haven't evolved from hundreds of years. The car, if you see a car 100 years ago and the car
Hmm.
right now, you won't even recognize the huge difference, right?
Yeah.
However, for some reason, and this is my personal opinion, the education system somehow keep keeping the basis, right, that it had to be fundamentally auditory. This is how it has been all the time. The teacher go there, they talk, and
Mm.
this is how we do the lesson, and this is the way that has been all the time. However, there is a lot of discoveries in what we were talking with you in accelerating learning and how different people have different way to learn. The other
Or
day we have an
preferences.
interview
Yeah.
with the autism student, right, and which each share amazing things, because they're more analytical, so they learn in a different way, but they do have the ability to learn, right?
Hmm.
And the thing is, I think that the whole system, right, needs this as it is because they don't want everybody to be on the top of the class. They want people on the top, they want people on the middle, and they want people to fail because they need people to sweep the floor, they
Yeah.
need people to do X, and they only need. So I think that the whole issue
Hmm.
is is like that they need, they want to keep it in that way because obviously they don't want everybody to perform the best. However, as teacher, as facilitator, because this is what we are, a teacher or facilitator, is our job, right,
Hmm.
to deliver the content in a way that it doesn't matter who's in the classroom, they can absorb it equally, depend on the different ways of learning. And I think I agree
Mm.
with you, when the people find an online course or find and other ways of learning, and the way that this content is communicated to them is easy for them to learn, because it's the facilitator they're using more innovative technique, right? Is
Mhm.
the university should be embracing these techniques more than anybody else. And I don't say that some universities are not doing it, because we do work and we do teach this stuff,
Mhm.
and the university take it on board, and they implement some of the things, but it's still, we are a long way. And I think that if we can achieve that, if we can train our professors uh, in like you said, in the mental health, how deliver more deliver the content in a more in fun way, right? Just to, it's, the things has evolved a lot, right?
Yeah, not necessarily uniform, but accessible. I think that's what you're
Exactly.
equitable
Yeah,
way. Yes.
accessible,
So, yes.
and
So,
everybody have equal opportunity, right?
yes, and that's absolutely not the case
Of course
in
not.
education overall.
Of
And
course not.
right. And so we've traditionally had a very uh consistent type of education system that only speaks to one group of people, one culture, one background, one basic level of ability, and being able to support that type of student. But in the US, that's we have a huge, and in the UK too, unbelievably diverse, unbelievably uh lots of socioeconomic statuses, lots of ethnic backgrounds, racial backgrounds, gender identities, and all sorts of different personalities and backgrounds and experiences. That means education needs to be more nimble and more accessible and more approachable. So me standing in the front of the room telling you how you're supposed to do things doesn't work if you and I don't necessarily communicate well, or because you come from a different background, or because you don't understand my accent, or because you, like you are, you don't necessarily process what you
Exactly.
hear
It's
as
the way
well,
that have
that
been
you'd
delivered.
rather.
Yeah.
Right, that you'd rather see a picture, or you'd rather write a story, or you'd rather think of something else. So there, and the interesting thing is that modern educational theories really do talk about a lot of these ideas and a lot of these perspectives. So thinking about giving students the opportunity to do in order to learn
Hmm.
has
That's
been,
very good concept.
yeah, yeah,
Brilliant.
absolutely. And
Brilliant.
right. And but the challenge is, how do we do that? How do we
Nobody
do
want
that
to
well?
change.
How do we do
There
that
is, when you go
effectively?
there,
How do we
I did a talk
change?
here in UK in the parliament once, and they give
Hmm.
you a big clap, but nothing happened.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, and that's the same thing. So we're starting to really understand what good education is, and we're starting to see that the way that that gets trickled down doesn't, or shared, doesn't work very well, and that was one of the reasons why I kind of went out on my own. And
okay,
and
your expert
I've been
opinion.
super happy doing it. Yeah.
Very good. So
Yeah.
your expert opinion, what will be the 5 steps that every math teacher out there
Hmm.
should be following to do the best for their students?
Um, Number one, I would say create community in
Mm-hmm.
the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Make
What that
um,
means?
that means that everybody should feel like they belong in their classroom,
I
and
agree
that
100%.
there should be respect for one another.
That everybody's
Uh,
inclusive, right?
yes, yes,
Because if only
absolutely.
one switch off, they it managed to come be able to switch off all everybody else, right?
Right, right.
You have to make sure that 100%, so that community includes 100% of the students. Yeah.
Yeah, 100% of the students. And the
Exactly.
students should
Not
feel
99, 100%.
100% of the students. And with that comes a lot of other things. So when we talk about embracing failure and changing what education is learning from your mistakes.
Mhm.
Education is taking what you think is impossible and working on it until it becomes easy. That's what education is. Uh, and you can't feel like you can do that unless you feel like you're in a comfortable and safe environment and in a community.
Mhm.
Which is why I think community is the most important thing. Embracing failure also.
Okay, so
I
step
think,
two.
yeah, would be embracing failure.
Mhm.
Okay.
What that means?
Um, I'm sorry.
What that means for a math teacher embrace failure?
So for a math teacher to embrace failure means it's okay to get things wrong.
Mhm.
And we're not, and when you embrace failure, you look at what it is that the errors that you made and understand why you made your errors and not necessarily focusing on the errors. So um for example, like when I graded exams, this is like a very
Mhm.
niche idea, but if my student got the wrong answer, that didn't matter. What mattered was the process by which they got the wrong answer.
Mhm.
So they got graded on their process and not necessarily their outcomes,
Ah, very good.
right?
Fantastic.
Yes,
Very
yes.
good.
And so, for example, let's say I asked them another question and it was based on, and they used their incorrect results and they came up with a correct conclusion, then
Wow.
that conclusion gets high marks.
Wow.
Does
That's
that make
amazing.
sense?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Um, and
that's
I think the same thing works, the same ideas work in business, in that if you
mhm.
embrace the process and the system, you don't look at your outcome, you look at the process by which the outcome was achieved.
Exactly. Because
Right.
like in math, the problem could be more than one, can have more than one solution, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's, yes, that's another idea.
Mhm.
So you need to think about multiple solutions and multiple perspectives.
That would be your
So
next step, right?
yeah, you're saying, yes, exactly. So you have to look at ideas from different solutions, which means thinking about work conceptually, foundationally, uh, thinking about frameworks to understand what it is that you're looking at. So when I give my math workshops on overcoming math trauma, people
Wow.
say the things you talk about have to do with life, don't have to do with math. And I said, but math is life. So understand a problem helps you answer the problem. And again, this happens with entrepreneurs all the time. And the work that
Mhm.
I'm doing as an entrepreneur is very similar to the work that I do as a mathematician. If I don't understand the problem that I'm having, then I can't find a solution.
We do
And
talk a
often,
lot about problem solving in the entrepreneur world. A
yeah,
lot.
absolutely.
It's all
Abs-
about solving problems. Yeah.
it's
I.
all about solving problems, but I find that once, and this my mathematical training has taught me, that if you spend more time understanding the problem, the solution becomes super, super, super easy.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
have a much easier time solving a problem I understand, but if I
Mhm.
don't understand the problem, then I don't, then you'll flail and keep looking and working and challenging yourself and not coming up with creative solutions and not coming up with good solutions.
But
Oftentimes
also,
I
it's
think,
important. Like mathematician, I got I had a degree in chemical engineering, and
mm-hmm,
I think that we spent 5 years in the university, and everything that we hear was math problem, physics problem, chemistry problem. So
mm-hmm,
5 years, problem, 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 problem.
mm-hmm,
So what happened is those problems, they were virtual problems. There was no real world problems, but give me a training, right, for 5 years. So after 5 years, the brain has a certain ability to solve problems, right?
right.
So when a problem comes, is now we are facing an entrepreneur problem in the business, but because we have done all this math problem, all these chemistry, we know that the
Mm-hmm.
problem it's gonna have a solution. We know that we need to understand the problem. We know that can have more down solutions. So we are not scared of the problem because we are used. We already been trained to solve problems, right? And I
Exactly.
think that this is for every entrepreneur out there that is listening. When it comes to problem solving, yeah,
Hmm.
I think that the math could be helpful because at
Actually,
least
the math is super helpful.
well, actually, you have to learn how to do the math to count the money, yeah.
Hmm.
But also
Hmm.
to train you a little bit in problem solving and at
Yeah.
least how to break. We talk a lot about how to break this big problem in smallest pieces. So like this, they're easy to achieve and techniques like that. So what would be your next step
Um, for so
for
I
the
think we're
math
kind of
teachers?
bridging.
For the
Yes,
math
we're bridging the
teachers,
world, right? For
yeah.
math teachers. I think from problem solving comes the need to look at things in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So uh you were talking about how you didn't embrace the abstract. I'm assuming it was the algebraic way of doing mathematics,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
you embraced the visual way, the geometric way.
Yes, I love
Right.
that one. It was so easy for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Now
could see it
imagine if every time you were taught algebra, somebody showed it to you
in
using
a
pictures.
visual way. Exactly.
Yeah. And one of the interesting things, one of the most beautiful things about mathematics is that you can, if you don't like the way something looks, you can change the way it looks without changing the fundamental idea.
Mm-hmm.
But that again, all of this comes to understanding your work very conceptually from a very deep
Mm-hmm.
foundational
Mm-hmm.
perspective. So again, for an entrepreneur that's thinking about frameworks and
Mm-hmm.
that's thinking about transforming ideas into different ideas and
But also,
different
what happened with
directions.
policy?
Hmm.
What happened with policy? Because if now a math teacher have all these ideas that I want to implement this to my students, I want to be doing this more experimental. I want them to learn by doing things, or by what
Hmm.
we're doing. We use a technology we call experiential learning, so they learn through experience, right?
Hmm.
And and then when you go there to university or to a classroom, they say, no, 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 you cannot teach like that because you don't comply with the policy. uh so I think the change has
Yeah.
to be everywhere, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's and one thing that I'm certainly that I think that I'm making a difference is when I work with faculty and when I work with
Mm-hmm.
teachers
Mm-hmm.
and
So they take policy,
when
right?
principals see the differences that happen in a classroom where you start embracing discomfort and failure and being nimble and understanding problems and thinking about the foundational ideas or the concepts behind what it is that you're trying to accomplish, then you don't need to focus on the nitty gritty. You don't need to focus on how to do this problem, how to do that problem, how to do this topic, how to solve this problem, how to, I don't know, get this client. You can you can look at a larger perspective, look at things from a larger perspective. And when you do that and you embrace this conceptual thinking, then ideas and problems become nimble, and then
Mm-hmm.
that makes you a much more flexible thinker.
Fantastic. So, what
Yeah.
will be the last message to conclude? The last message that you have for all the math teachers out there that they find they are feeling
Mhm.
frustrated. They are feeling
Yeah.
that the students are not engaging with the content. That they are
Mhm.
bored. That they are distracted. What is the message
Oh,
that you have for all
Harry, you said the right word.
of
The
them?
right word is engagement.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So engagement is, if I'm not interested in what I'm doing, then I shouldn't be doing it. And we know that. If you're bored, you're not going to do it.
Mhm.
And if I'm bored, I'm not going to do it. And if our students are bored, they're not going to do it. And I think we have a major engagement problem.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. And it hasn't been hard to work with. And again, this is a matter of inspiring teachers and also sometimes giving somebody like the permission to be to be
Creative.
courageous
Yeah,
and
correct.
creative, right? So yes, let's sit together. And I've said this to teachers. I was like, I'll take the brunt of it. If this doesn't work out, I will talk to your principal and said this was my idea, so that they don't feel that they're going to be penalized if they embrace or try something new. Because education is a very conservative field. No one wants to try something new unless
Yeah,
you say that it works, and you can't say that it works unless you try
you
something
try.
new.
Yeah.
So you're stuck.
And
So
the truth of the matter, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so I've been in places where I'm just like, you know what? I'll take the fall. Let's just try this and see what happens. And it's unbelievable the transformations that I've seen and that we've been able to manage in the classroom when you work with a teacher and you say, just embrace the creativity and embrace the engagement. And then, so here's what happens. The students get more interested and engaged because we're doing something interesting and different in class.
And they are not bored anymore, so
They're not bored anymore. And when you're not bored, you're going to try a little harder. When you try a little harder, your grades are going to go up. But on top of that, the teacher becomes more engaged and interested.
A better experience for the teacher also, right?
Absolutely. And then you
Whole
cycle
energy.
back to building more community, and so it just ends up getting better and better and stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
And
And I think we all have that this teacher that
mhm,
is that it was teaching a subject in school or in the university, and it
mhm,
was the most boring subject, and all of a sudden the whole classroom loved the subject, and nobody had the subject anymore. And sometimes we always said who is the who is the fault when the students are not performing? Are the students' fault? The teaching
yeah.
fault? So who's responsible for that? And I think is we believe that if we taught them in a different way, that we
Mhm.
perform better. However,
Yeah.
we cannot blame the teachers because the
Yes.
teachers
Thank you.
go for a job
Thank
that
you.
they need to follow a policy. Otherwise,
Yeah.
they get
So it's
fired.
not the
So
teachers, it's the
it's not
system.
the teacher, it's the system.
Absolutely.
It's the
Absolutely.
system that which is
Mhm.
responsible for the
Mhm.
failing of the students.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
but
it's the
we
system
change the
because the
system.
teacher's stuck
We
in the
want to
system as
change the
well.
system, but
Yeah.
if the system wants to be changed, because like I say, someone has a strong interest that
Mhm.
not everyone perform at 100%. That's my personal opinion, but we have to move forward because otherwise, you know what? It's like you said, university dropping is gonna continue because there are other people there
Mhm.
out there teaching the content,
Mhm.
and the people they will go where they can actually absorb that content easy and
Yep.
faster. And in the university we have the problem here in UK as well that I think all over the world the university is the slowest in embrace change. And even in
Mhm.
technology, we have a case now that now the students sometimes they know more than the teacher in the tech space, because by the
Mhm.
time the university embrace the technology, train the teacher, approve the policy, AI or whatever, already
Right.
10, 12 years, and then you have
Right.
the students sitting in the that already know more than the teacher. Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
university have to catch up. Have to catch up, and they need to. They are when the time big organization, they do need to move fast, and whether they like it or not, the way of teaching and the way of people consume content today
Mhm.
have nothing to do with the last 20 years or 30 years. There is
Or yeah.
or 5 years. It's
Yeah, yeah,
evolving
yeah. The
so
changes
fast.
in the
Now even
past
you have the
30, 40
metaverse that you
years.
can even learn in MERS. So
Absolutely.
if the university don't embrace change, and the teacher also have to be willing to embrace the new advancing technology to do the best for the
Right.
students. But I think that you do have a big work to do, and I think that your biggest work will be working with the faculties, working with the institutions themselves, so they can understand and they can get enrolled that you
Hmm.
guys, you really need to embrace this, because you are losing people, you're losing business.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
It's yeah, yeah, yeah.
and you
So
are the
to a
university, you should
university.
be the role model, you should be the leading in this, no
Mhm.
not the other way around, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much. We have a very
Thank
powerful
you.
conversation, and this is what we can do. What we can do is raise our voice as entrepreneurs and try to make the world a better place for everybody. Because in the end of the day,
Mhm.
everybody deserves to learn and to absorb the content without any discrimination, without any different ways. And if we have some bias in a way that we deliver in math or any content in university or the school system, it's only going to be a fraction of the students that we have the highest mark, and we don't
And
see
it's always the same fraction, and it's
same
always the
fraction,
same
yes,
students.
same
And
students. So,
yes.
and we don't think
And
that this is fair.
yeah, the rest of us want a little bit of that pie too.
Of course,
And
we
and
need to
and
make it
here's the other
fair for
thing.
everyone, right?
The rest of us are just as smart, just
Yeah,
as
we
capable,
just learn in
just
different
as
ways. That's
brilliant,
all. We
just
just
as creative. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. There is a
Yes.
book I always, when I do my conference, there is a book that I always talk about, that at the end of the
Hmm.
day you find that it says why students A work for student C,
Hmm.
so sometimes, so what it means that, oh, the student that they were achieving the C in the classroom, they were not as dumb as we thought. They
No,
they have
no,
less mark, but then after
no.
university finish, they went out, or after school finish, they were out, they started the business, they learn how to solve a problem, and because they know they can learn and they can absorb content, sometimes, most of the time, the student A that have the top performance is actually working for the student C, right?
Yeah,
So in
yeah.
the end of the day, equal opportunity for everybody that is learning, especially math, which is a very challenging topic.
Hmm.
Is a nightmare for lots of students out there. And thank you so much
Hmm.
for the work you do. And
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for joining our podcast, Entrepreneurs and Leaders, and for all of you listening or watching us in social media. See you in our next episode, Entrepreneurs and Leaders. Well, brave entrepreneurs, they are developing new technologies to make the world a better place. Bye for now.
Wonderful. Thank you. Bye now.
Follow us for more on charismatic speaking, leadership, exponential business growth, branding, marketing, strategies designed to help you monetize your knowledge, find true happiness, and manifest your goals and dreams.